When attention feels intense, ask what it's trying to hide, because not every powerful beginning is real connection. Sometimes it's strategy wearing the mask of affection. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing emotional intensity with genuine intention. They think, this feels rare, this feels deep, this feels like destiny. But intensity is not always honesty. Sometimes it's acceleration. And when someone emotionally accelerates a connection before trust, before consistency, before true understanding, you need to ask why. Because love bombing rarely feels dangerous in the beginning. It feels extraordinary. That's why so many people miss it. At first, it can feel like everything you've been missing. Constant texts, endless compliments, fast emotional intimacy, big promises, instant future plans, deep vulnerability, almost too soon. They make you feel chosen, special, seen, desired. Like finally, someone understands you in ways nobody else ever has. And that's exactly what makes it powerful. Because love bombing often doesn't begin with control. It begins with emotional overload. They give you so much, so quickly, that you don't have enough time to evaluate it clearly. You just feel it. And feelings, without perspective, can become blind spots. This is where most people get trapped. They assume, if someone is showing this much effort, this fast, it must be real. But here's the truth. Healthy connection builds. Manipulation rushes. Real love respects timing. Love bombing often tries to outrun it. Because when someone pushes emotional closeness before foundations are built, they may not be trying to love you. They may be trying to secure access to you before you can fully see them. And securing someone quickly can sometimes be about preventing clear judgment. Now let's be fair, not every intense person is manipulative. Some people genuinely move fast because they're excited. But healthy excitement still respects space. Love bombing often doesn't. It can feel like pressure disguised as passion. Too many messages, too much praise, too much urgency, too much, I've never felt this way before. Too much, you're everything I wanted. Too much, I need you. And when too much arrives before true depth, pay attention. Because intensity can manufacture artificial intimacy. It can create emotional closeness before emotional safety has actually been earned. And once that happens, your judgment can shift. You stop observing. You start attaching. This is where dependency can quietly begin. Because when someone gives you extreme highs early on, your brain can start associating them with emotional relief. So when they suddenly pull back, it doesn't just feel disappointing, it feels destabilizing. And this is where the pattern often reveals itself. Because many love bombers don't just overwhelm you with affection, they shift once attachment forms. Once you're emotionally invested, once your guard drops, once you begin relying on their presence, the energy changes. The attention becomes inconsistent. The compliments slow down. The certainty fades. The warmth becomes unpredictable. And now, you're no longer enjoying connection. You're chasing the beginning. This is where people lose themselves. Because instead of asking, was that real? They ask, how do I get that version back? And that question can become a trap. Because now, the same intensity that pulled you in becomes the bait that keeps you attached. You start blaming yourself, overanalyzing, trying harder, adjusting, performing. Not because love grew, but because confusion did. And confusion is powerful, because inconsistency can create obsession far more effectively than stability. This is why love bombing can feel psychologically addictive. It's not always affection. Sometimes it's emotional conditioning. Fast highs, sudden lows, temporary rewards, unexpected withdrawal, and that cycle can create deep attachment, even when the foundation is unstable. And here's the part even more people ignore. Love bombing is not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It's not always dramatic declarations or constant obsession. Sometimes it's simply someone becoming everything you've ever said you wanted, too quickly. They mirror your values, your humor, your pain, your dreams. They study what matters to you and reflect it back with almost unnatural precision. At first, this can feel like perfect compatibility, like finally, someone gets you. But perfect alignment too early can sometimes be performance, because genuine connection reveals itself over time. Mirroring can imitate it overnight. And if someone seems almost too perfectly designed for your emotional needs, before real life has tested them, pay attention. Because some people don't build trust by showing who they are. They build trust by becoming who you want. And when that mask eventually slips, it can leave you questioning your instincts, your judgment, even your worth. That's why patience is power. Because time does what intensity cannot. It reveals patterns, and patterns always tell the truth. Now, here's where most men miss this. Love bombing is not always about love. Sometimes it's about control. Control over your emotions, control over your attention, control over your pace. Because when someone dictates the speed of emotional intimacy, they often influence the dynamic itself. So here are the warning signs people ignore. First, they push emotional depth immediately. Highly personal conversations too soon, oversharing too fast, calling you rare before truly knowing you. This can feel romantic, but sometimes it's strategic acceleration. Second, they future project aggressively. Trips, commitment, marriage language, big promises, before consistency has proven anything. Why? Because future promises can emotionally anchor you to potential instead of reality. Third, they resist boundaries. If slowing down feels like rejection to them, if needing space creates guilt, if pacing yourself causes pressure, pay attention. Healthy intentions respect boundaries. Manipulative intentions often challenge them. But here's where it gets worse. Many people are vulnerable to love bombing, not because they're naive, but because they're emotionally hungry. If you've been ignored, neglected, undervalued, intense attention can feel like healing. But attention is not always healing. Sometimes it's targeting, because unmet needs can make fast affection feel safer than it actually is. And this is why self-awareness matters. Your loneliness, your validation wounds, your fear of abandonment can all become openings if you don't recognize them. Because people who need quick control often look for quick emotional entry points. So what do? Slow down. Not fear connection. Slow down enough to observe it. Watch whether words survive time. Watch whether promises become patterns. Watch whether intensity becomes consistency or disappears once access is secured. Watch whether they respect your independence or subtly rush dependence. Because real love does not fear pacing. Real love does not panic when you think clearly. Real love does not collapse under boundaries. Healthy love understands that trust is built, not flooded. And that may be the most important lesson of all. Love bombing works because it can feel like love before love has actually been tested. It creates certainty before character is confirmed, emotion before evidence, attachment before truth. So when someone enters your life like a storm, don't just ask, "Why does this feel so powerful?" Ask, "Why does this feel so fast?" Because sometimes the people who seem too good too soon are not revealing their heart. They're revealing their urgency. And urgency, without depth, can hide dangerous motives. So the next time someone gives you everything instantly, don't just measure how good it feels, measure whether it feels rushed. Because love that is real does not need to overwhelm you to keep you, but manipulation often does.